Welcome everyone, today we have a new build guide for Diablo 4 and today I want to showcase my bleeding Barbarian. And yes guys, I'm pretty much ready with my Barbarian. I have found new sets of legendaries and also upgraded some of my existing legendaries, and I want to show you everything about the Barbarian. I also have the finalized piece of the Barbarian weapon which gives me more bleeding damage. So how we're going to start the video is, I'll give you guys a small trailer of my Barbarian in action, and then we go through the skill tree, the combinations of skills, and the usage. I'll also give you guys two variations of the build. One is offensive, one is defensive. So let's get into the replays. The first one is going to be showcasing us versing a wave of enemies. And here you can see this is level 25. And my Barbarian also have Berserk, which allows me to do a tremendous damage over time with lots of resource gain. And we maul through those enemies pretty quickly. And especially when there's elites in here, they also die this fast. So let's go through the second kind of replay, and here I want to show you guys the replay of me fighting a dungeon boss. So, as we go through, I'll let you guys know. My Barbarian build have a invulnerability for 7.5 seconds right at the start, and the boss, does not do anything to me. And what I do is, I usually go with my Barbarian with Berserk. I notice that within a few seconds, the boss is already down to 1/3 of HP, and that's my full rotation right away. And usually at this time, if I don't finish the boss off, I just normal hit a few times, get a bit of fury, and the boss is gone. So at this moment, the boss is already dead. Now, it usually takes me about 10 to 15 or even 30 seconds to finish the boss off, depending on the mechanics. So this build is quite fast, and I have so many defensive and offensive capacities. And one thing to notice, during the fight of this boss, this was not my finalized build. My finalized build will be much stronger, which means I'll be dealing, let's say, 30 or 40% more damage, and even faster. So notice there's so many buffs and so many combinations with this Barbarian build. Now that we had a bit of showcase, what I do is I go through the choices of gears, and then we also go through the skill variations of the perks, and then we come back to the replays. I'll show you guys some finer details of how I cast my skill rotations and how I do things. So let's get into the gears. What you're going to see right away is there will be defensive and offensive gears. I'll prioritize the offensive gears when I have them, but when I don't have them, I'll go with defensive gears. And if you guys are wondering how to level up Barbarian and also how to get your Barbarian gears very fast, check out our previous videos. So here we do have the previous video of me leveling level to 25 Barbarian very fast in open beta, all my tips and also tricks and also pathways. And also check out how I got my Barbarian fully geared within about 2 hours. Definitely use this method guys to get any class fully geared. So coming over to my legendary items and also codex of choices, what I do is I'll go with offensive codex, then we go with the amulets and also rings, then we go with the defensive codex on the side. So this should be easier, because usually want to focus on offensive codex. Now because it's during beta, I will not have my whole arsenal of codex, so this is the best I can get in beta at the moment after a day of farming. So right away you can see my double-handed slashing blade. This will be my major sort of weapon. Now once we go to the skill selection, I also want to show you guys a little trick. So notice here, my weapon choice is slashing with a two-hand sword. If you press the middle point of your weapon, you can be changing this choice of weapon. Notice here I'm changing which weapon to use. This is quite important for the bleeding build as you pick Rind. Now we'll talk about more of the skill choices and also tips in the next part. So this particular weapon provides me with a massive boost of attack speed for 56% for basic spells. And we actually attack really fast. I can't show you in the town, but we actually attack super fast. We attack faster than Frenzy, right? And we're using free and give a lot of vulnerability. So this weapon also have increased vulnerability damage, increased close damage, and also increased core skill damage. This weapon was crafted for a golden item. Now if you guys are wondering how I made it and what are the tricks and tips to it, definitely coming back to this video, I talk about how to do it and what is a big warning of you must roll your stats before you craft them into legendaries. The second weapon I have, we're looking at the legendary aspects here, right? So the second weapon I have, we have an increase of the skill core damage, which is based on how much resource I have. Once we go back to the replay, you will see usually I start in the Wrath of Berserker in a very high resource, and this increased damage, by 24% at least. So this is really good. As for the weapon slots, if I do have weapon socketing, I'll be going with the damage over time sockets, because that's what we do, right? We do damage over time. We'll talk about the other two sockets as well. Now, you might notice that I do have a golden weapon. I'm waiting to get a better golden weapon on this one, so I can exchange and slot it in the aspect codex over here from this weapon, which means I will do a tremendous bleeding damage when I stun enemies. and I'll change one of my skills into stunning enemies. That means I do all of a sudden 60%, 68% more damage once I slot this weapon into here. But currently those weapons are kind of slotted between here, so it's kind of awkward. So I'm waiting for a better golden weapon to upgrade my final build, and I'll show you guys a variation. On the next part, our build does not really enjoy this codex, so this codex allows us to have weapon mastery dealing 200% more damage after 100 fury. It is very powerful, but you're gonna see the replay. The bosses will lose double the HP, the bosses get HP back for the 200% damage dealt. I'm not sure if it's a bug or not, but our build actually does not get benefit for this weapon mastery. If it gets, the build will be broken, right? Like a 2-shot bosses. Now, coming over to some amulets of choices, and some of those will be core for the bleeding and also berserker build. We'll have berserking. While berserking, we deal base damage dealt is also translated into physical damage. Just means more bleeding damage, right? So this is really good for berserking. And the other one is the lucky hit chance of 30% chance of us gaining 20 furies when rend deals at least damage, direct damage to 1 bleeding enemies. This happens quite often. And what that means is my rend will constantly gaining a lot of energy, a lot of fury, and will constantly have a lot of spams. And that's usually what you see me against a pack of enemies. So we have no problem against many enemies or against single enemy. And finally, this is a unique amulet that I didn't get a chance to upgrade it. I don't mind the skills on it, they're not great to be honest, but I want to go a bit more offensive. Because I'm out of gold, I didn't really, take away the codex and craft it. I just took it for the legendary Affix. And the legendary Affix is actually surprisingly strong. Once your character fall below 80% HP, so once you lose 20% of your HP, you gain a barrier of invulnerability for 7.5 seconds for you and the whole party. Only happens once 90 seconds, but usually within the 7.5 seconds, I can kill most bosses to like 1/3 HP already. So this allows me to start the fight with invulnerable and then take down the boss to almost 10 of dead boss within 10 seconds. Now as for my boots, this is going to be one of the core skills we have, and sometimes I was thinking of transferring what is on the boots, the chances, onto an amulet or maybe onto a weapon, simply because the codex stats will be doubled if it's on a weapon and also increased by 50% if it's on an amulet. This is going to be one of our core build for the berserkers, and this means while berserking, when you cast your resource spending core skill, you also extend berserk duration. And you're going to see a lot of boss fights, my berserk, although it only lasts for about 5 seconds, my berserk can last up to 10-15 seconds because if I time my skill correctly. So this is very good. Now some of the defensive codex over here, we have basic skills reduce damage by 25% for 6 seconds. Very good. So currently my armor only reduced to 36%, damage reduction, right? So this item reduced damage by another 25%. Very good, right? And over here we do have another damage creating skill, and I was thinking if I can get this one onto a weapon as well. So maybe I can get this item and maybe this one onto the weapons over here. So this means they have double effectiveness. So 173 will become 346 damage. This will be massive. So as you generate fury, you create a dust devil, and which is a whirlwind, little cyclone, and this cyclone will attack enemies. And this is actually really good burst damage. The next part is, while we're injured under 35% HP, we'll go into unstoppable. This is really good. I have 3 forms of unstoppable, or 4 unstoppable. So my Rallying Cry unstoppable, Iron Skin unstoppable, and also the Wrath of Berserker unstoppable, which is actually pretty interesting, right? So talking about the unstoppable for Iron Skin, here the final piece of the gear, we have Iron Skin provide unstoppable and another 20% damage reduction. So we're very durable, very tanky, lots of damage, lots of movement speed. As for the skills of choices, what you want to do is I got a +1 rank to Rapture, and also I'm getting a lot of the level 25 gears that are looted after an end game of the beta, right? And one highlight over here is you do want to find 2 ranks of rend if you can on the gloves. So here my rend currently, I am on 7 out of 5 for the rend. Other than that, most of the things are pretty standard. I don't think there's anything too special. So here, the boost usually gives you increased movement speed after evading, which is not bad if you look on the top of the writing. And as for the weapons choices, I want to go with vulnerability damage, close damage, and also core skill damage. And this is what the golden weapon provide as in terms of stats. And here I want to go with close damage, slow damage, crowd control damage. and that's what I try to get in those items, but because those came with a legendary, so I just take whatever they provide. Now just before we finish, I forgot to touch up on the option of the sockets of gems. It's quite straightforward. For the weapons you want damage over time, and for the armor I want damage reduction while fortified. This is just for defensiveness. And finally, for the sockets, I want a bit of resistance to all elements, because we have really high armor. And this is pretty much the set. And in terms of consumables, I can go with the attack speed potion for the experience and also attack speed, which gains more fury and also more chance of giving enemies vulnerability with my flay spell. So those are the combinations. We also attack super fast though with this weapon. I tried it, it's actually really good. So coming over to the skill tree. Now do keep in mind guys, I did not level up in this exact skill tree. So if you do want to have a look, come back to this video how I level up the Barbarian. I leveled up in a different skill tree path than I reset it multiple times. Because it's a little harder to level up when you don't have the gears, right? So here what I have in my final form for the first build, I have two builds, right? So in the first build, we have level 1 in free and also the upgrades for free. Free have a 20% chance of making enemies vulnerable. And because we use two-handed weapon. So, and after that we also have the upgraded for free for vulnerability and also increased bleeding damage. Now let's come over to Flay, and I want to show you something. You have to have your action tab open, come over to Flay, scroll down, press the middle key of your mouse. Notice that you can change what weapon you use for Flay. And this is massive, because if you use the two-handed weapon here, all of a sudden you only do 10% chance of vulnerability. If you move your mouse again, you pick the one you want. It has the auto selection function as well, but I always pick my slashing weapon, because slashing weapons for Barbarian with sword, it also turns physical damage into bleeding because of the perks to the two-handed weapon. Just something bonus. And yeah, so this is the method of the tips for Barbarian. You pick your weapons guys, you do not just let the game give you a random weapon. The next part of my Barbarian, I will go into 5 levels of Rend at my final build, and plus the gloves I have 7 levels of Rend, and my bleed damage can go even higher. So right now it's 867 with no boost, but we get even higher boost. So the next level gives us 921. I'm trying to get more points into Rend, so we might even go to like level 8 or level 9 with Rend. I'll go with the Rend upgrade and with the increased extension on the vulnerability enemies, because we get a lot of vulnerability of Flay. One reason I have the attack speed increase on this sword, with 56% attack speed increase, I attack like a one-hand sword Barbarian with Frenzy. And that's how good this particular perk was. So, as we keep going, the upgrade for the Rend means that we will be hitting a lot of enemies, getting a lot of Fury. If you hit more than 4 enemies, all of a sudden you're pretty much max Fury with the perks of the Furious Rend, and also to this one gives you up to 20 Furies, and this particular item that gives another chance for 20 Furies. So our Rend only costs 34 Furies, and you have a chance of getting 20 and also 20, so even 40 Furies. So energy is not a problem. Against massive lots of enemies, we actually have almost infinite energy. On the next part, this is the first variation. My current build is defensive, because I really like Rallying Cry. Rallying Cry gives me the faster gain of energy, and it also gives me Fortify and Unstoppable. I think I'll keep this skill for the end of the build. So 1 point into Rallying Cry, upgrade for Unstoppable, and also upgrade for Fortify. I don't need the more resource gain. The Fortify makes me durable while casting this spell. And what I do during this spell is, I will be casting this spell as I want to get energy to keep my core skill casting, because we need Fury, right? And if I keep casting my core skill, I can extend the duration of my berserking, and this can keep going. So this is how my berserk lasts for 5, 10 or 15 more seconds. Now, because sometimes I find myself dying a lot in the fights, and I do have a really good legendary affix for Iron Skin. So Iron Skin here, I perked into Iron Skin, absorb more HP, and also Iron Skin heals us. I didn't go into more Fortify because the Fortify for Rallying Cry was enough. Iron Skin heals us is actually a small mini potion, so this way I save a lot of potion, and this makes me super durable in boss fights. Now another variation is that I might be losing this helmet, because if I don't use Iron Skin, this helmet won't be that useful. But because I have this helmet, Iron Skin also gives me Unstoppable. We also move a little faster with Iron Skin, so it's like a mini heal. Now what I do plan to do is, I plan to take away Iron Skin once I have my final piece of the weapon, and I plan to pierce into Ground Stop. Once I have Ground Stop, I have the ability to stun enemies. And once I have ability to stun enemies, we can also reduce the ultimate cooldown for stunning enemies. So I want to ultimate cooldown. I don't think I have a problem with Fury. So I perk into 1 point in Ground Stomp, 1 point into Upgrade, and 1 point into reduction to ultimate skill by 1 second. What that means is, once we have 100% guarantee to Ground Stomp, we can stun enemies while they're bleeding and use this weapon's Affix onto this weapon. And that will be my final build. So this is the variation for the build. Now as we keep going, I did not go into any points into balling. But notice that you also have skills from balling. So what that means is sometimes we have a plus skill point, and if you're actually looking for different skills, you can even take the skills from the plus balling and put them in. All of a sudden you can use the balling skills. So this is a little hint to play around with the skills because your gears plus increase skills. So here this particular item increase +1 to all balling skills. So that means I can play around the skills for free. And if you press S, you can pick the skills that's available currently because of your items. Now, while pressing S, notice that this shows what weapon can be used for a particular skill. For example, leap, a lot of weapon can be used, right? You can also press the middle point of your mouse to see which skill can be used for this skill. So, a small hint, right? As we keep coming back, what you're going to see is I will put 1 point into Rend. I have an item that +1 Rend, just lower cooldown. For Rend, I want upgrades for bleeding AoE, and also I want Rupture increase attack speed. I don't need to heal. I have lots of good healing and I'm very durable. So increase attack speed means after Rupture, if the enemy doesn't die, you normal attack really fast to gain Fury and do more Rupture and also more Rend. Now here I did perk into Hamstring Slow. Oh, this is the Bleeding Slow. Bleeding will slow enemies by 10%, and this is massive because a lot of my gears over here provide me with slow and slow bonus. So I'll show you guys over here. So damage versus slow enemies, 38.5% increased damage to slow enemies. And this is why you really want the passive perk, just one perk, to slow enemies while bleeding. Of course, in-game build will definitely have these two for bleeding. So once enemies are slowed, we also deal bonus damage to close enemies, and also we deal bonus critical chances to enemies who are slowed, stunned. And we do that pretty much all the time with slowed. So this is the free critical chance bonus for 6%. Because I don't have enough passives, we only have 2 points in this. I'll definitely want 3 points in this. And finally, we're going to the Wrath of the Berserker. Wrath of Berserker is pretty straightforward. And we're going to its upgrades, movement speed, fury generation, and also activation means we gain more bonus damage by spinning fury. We'll spend at least 200 fury. So this means we at least get another 100% damage bonus. I'll show you guys the combination of skill choices in the fight in the video, and let's get into it. So normally against enemies, what I do is I will just normal attack for a little bit of energy, and you can see that my normal attack is actually not that fast because I actually didn't swap that weapon in for this replay. So normal attack can be faster. Once I have enough fury, I'll go with my Wrath of the Barbarian and we're going to Berserk mode. Once into Berserk, you want to constantly spend your core skill Fury, because this will extend your Berserk duration. Notice this is the bar of Berserk. Notice as it ticks down, as I spin my Fury, this actually goes reset back to 5 seconds. Maximum is 5 seconds. And during this time, notice my HP is low. I have 2 defensive spells. Rally Cry is a defensive spell when my Fury is low, and Iron Skin is a defensive spell when my HP is lower than 50% because it provides a better shield and heals us. And because I don't have any elites here, notice I also have the Cyclone sent by the Dust Fury, Dust Devil, because of my items. Every 100 Fury we spend, we send a Dust Devil. Over here with massive enemies, you always make sure you gain Fury as you have the Wrath of Berserker, and my Berserker is always resetting. So notice that we have pretty much unlimited Fury. And yes, if you do lose HP more while defensive skills are on cooldown, just drink a potion. So, that's pretty straightforward, right? And once you drink potions and once I cast more defensive spells, I'm more durable. I also have a lot of Fortify. And finally, in terms of when to use Rend, against elites, you want to take the elites down at least to 20% of the bleeding HP or 0 bleeding HP, then use Rend. Against a lot of enemies, you can use Rend anytime, but here I didn't even use the Rend, they die so fast. Rend also gives us attack speed bonus and a burst of AoE bleeding. So here finally I used it. You can see I have so many buffs going, and my Berserker lasted for the whole fight, and this is my combination against most elites and normal mobs. So coming over to a boss fight, here I used my Rally Cry to gain Fury, and I have Max Fury. Usually I want to start the Wrath of Berserker with Max Fury. And I go into Wrath of Berserker quite early at the start, but usually I get some bleeding going. So notice that the boss is getting bleeded by the Wrath of Berserker. And what's happening is, you can see there's a barrier. So I'll show you guys item. This barrier is when it's triggered when my HP goes below 80% for the first time every 90 seconds. Barrier lasts for 7.5 seconds, we have invulnerable. We can't take any damage. So that means the boss's skills are useless to us. And notice that the barrier, I just stand in it and just deal as much damage as I can. I want to spend all my fury while normal attacking. So spend fury once, normal attack once, core skill once, normal attack once. And this gives you an extended duration of your berserker. I didn't do this here though, I was in a rush, I was like, just spend everything. So once I spend all my fury, and once I have no fury and no cooldowns, I can use my rend to increase attack speed. And here the boss is down to 1/3. And again, once you're low on fury, go rally cry and you gain a lot of fury. And just normal attack a few times. Again, during this fight, I did not have the increased attack speed weapon geared. I was seeing if I can get a better one. So during this fight, we did not have increased 56 attack speed. And also we didn't have this weapon. So this is a weaker version of what I could become. Finally, you finish the boss off because you gain a lot of fury and you have another rotation of the rend. Rend is every 9 seconds, and I use rend not to one-shot enemies' bosses, but rather gain the attack speed and also expand the bleed. Now one thing I do want to show you guys, so by this time the boss is already dead. One thing I do want to show you guys is that during the fight, you're going to see this icon. This icon means this is a buff from this particular spell. So this is a buff to give me weapon mastery damage by 200%. But I'm not sure if this is a bug in the beta or maybe it's intentional. So you're going to see the boss's HP. So I have this, right? So let's see the first time I'm going to use rend here. The boss's HP is supposed to come here if I don't have this buff. But it's supposed to lose the double HP 200% if I have this buff. So the boss is going to lose up to here, then restore back. See, the boss lost HP to here, then the boss got HP back. So my 200% increase of core skill was useless. This could be really broken if it worked, right? So let me know what you guys think about the build, and this is pretty much the showcase. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I have lots of fun building it, and I'm pretty much ready after one day of hard grinding for my Barbarian. We'll be looking to the rogue and also sources in my next 2 days. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. So I just started a YouTube channel with my girlfriend yesterday, and you can see this is only 12 hours old, this YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.